Hey y'all, this is Marla K. Hope everybody is doing well. Got a story I want to share with you from the health secretary about the health secretary from NPR. If y'all not are keeping up with what's going on in regards to public health, you should, because apparently something probably getting ready to go down. But let me share with you my concern. So I don't know if y'all remember Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He was doing all the tours during the COVID-19 pandemic back in 2020, 2021 with Dr. McCullough and a lot of other people who were vocal opposition to being forced to take the concoctions that were being prescribed by our government. And so he gained a lot of notoriety and support from a lot of people who were suspicious about the thing that they were trying to give to us. And, after here it is 3, 4, 5 years later, if, the people who were opposed to the thing are, they were right. But, we have people in, from all different types of sectors talking about this thing and how it's just so unnatural, how it was created, and with so much we didn't know, they were just like pump the brakes. Anyway, this guy got a following, and then he decided that he was going to run for president. Now, here is where I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on and just say, ooh, 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 ah, illusion. Y'all remember that song? It's just an illusion in all this confusion. That's what we are in. Everything is an illusion. Nothing is real. We are being mind screwed all the time. So anyway, RFK ran for president as a third-party candidate. Of course, he didn't go nowhere because in America, they only let you have two choices, left or right. So after his unsuccessful run for president, Trump tapped him to be the head of HHS. Now, y'all know they are touting Code 45 as this opposition to all things. And we need to just be fooled to believe that he's there for the average working person. Like most of us who got good common sense know the rich people don't get rich by doing nothing for poor people. Rich people get rich by stealing from the poor people and then providing illusions and smoke screens to keep them distracted from the stealing. So same thing here. So anyway, Trump was supposed to be the guy for the little guy. And so when he picks this guy who's been very vocal and outspoken about not being forced to comply with the COVID-19 mandates, people are like, okay, yeah. Or, for me, I'm always like, they're playing chess. So what's happening here? So he gets, confirmed, and he's the head of HHS now. But they gave him hell because of his anti-vaccine positions. Now, he's pivoted and basically endorsing MMR, which is measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. And his supporters are angry because, rightly so. And if you don't know, there has been a huge controversy about this particular vaccine in particular. And we should be outraged as well as African Americans because there was a study that came out. Now, I can't find it on the internet no place, so I'm just telling you about my experience, that, something that I read, shoot, probably about 15 years ago now. But there was a study that came out that talked about how this particular vaccine negatively impacted Black young people, in particular males. And it was alarming to me. And I remember this vividly because it was like a eye-opening experience talking to my spouse who worked in healthcare, who worked with children, who delivered babies, and who gave shots. So I remember us having a conversation, a very heated conversation, that actually changed my view about him and his character, sadly, because it just showed me how some people who are government employees, they can't, they don't care. They're not doing nothing to rock the boat. As long as they're comfortable, they don't care who got to be sacrificed and tossed under the boat, including our little children. So anyway, this stuff is controversial, and if you do some research, you may or may not find it, but there's a lot of research out there. And it was a story on the news from a news station in Atlanta about this particular study concerning Black people, Black children, and the results that were discovered by this research. But all of it now is gone. So good luck. But I'm not crazy, y'all. I hope y'all understand. I ain't no fool. I don't forget much of nothing when it comes to stuff like that, because I love my people. But, when you the lone voice or the only one doing research and most people don't give a crap, it's easy to make folks like me look crazy. So I'm saying all of that to say there is a lot of controversy around this particular solution. And, that's why this story is huge, because now after after 2020 and what has happened, people are more suspicious now more than ever. And when you have somebody that was an advocate of you having personal choice, and they're going now as the spokesperson for the government and saying, yeah, now you should take this, people are like, wait a minute, what is going on? And they're mad because they supported this person who they thought had their back. But it just goes to show you, a pale face in a high place don't mean nothing. They'll betray you so fast, honey, you can't keep your thoughts together. So Health Secretary RFK Jr. endorses the MMR vaccine, stoking fury among his supporters. So it says an endorsement of the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine by the Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has provoked an angry outcry by anti-vaccine activists. I hate to say anti-vaccine activists. You should have a choice. People, just like abortion. Everything is anti, just how the media poses stuff in America is so conflict oriented. They don't frame things around, personal choice, right from wrong, or whatever. It depends on what it is. It's a personal choice depending on what it is. And then sometimes it's you just anti. So anyway, quote, the most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is the MMR vaccine, end quote, Kennedy said in the third paragraph of a lengthy post on the social media platform X. Kennedy made the post following meetings on Sunday in Gaines County, Texas, with the families of 2 children who have died of measles during a recent outbreak in the state. He also said he had instructed the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to, quote, supply pharmacies and Texas-run clinics with needed MMR vaccines, along with other medical supplies, end quote. Kennedy's endorsement is in line with all available scientific evidence on the MMR vaccine. Quote, a single dose is roughly 93% effective at preventing illness, and the second dose gets that up to 97%, says Dr. Paul Offit, director of Vaccine Education Center of the Vaccine Education Center at the Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. According to the Texas Department of State Health Services, just 10 of the 481 measles cases recorded as of April the 4th were in partially or fully vaccinated individuals. That's around 2%. Of all overall cases, so far, 3 unvaccinated people, the 2 children in Texas and an adult in New Mexico, have died from the disease. Quote, I'm delighted to hear what Secretary Kennedy has said about giving the vaccination, end quote, says Dr. Catherine Edwards, a retired professor of pediatric infectious disease. Edwards said she'd hoped for an explicit endorsement of the vaccine much earlier in January, but that it's better late than never. But Kennedy's suggestion that the vaccine was effective infuriated several members of the anti-vaccine community who responded on X to the statement. So Dr. Mary Talley Bowden said, I'm sorry, but we voted for challenging the medical establishment, not parroting it. So there's anti-vaccine anger. So it says, quote, I'm sorry, but there is no defense for this poorly worded statement, wrote Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, a prominent anti-vaccine activist who once claimed during a legislative hearing in Ohio that COVID-19 could cause patients to become magnetized, allowing them to stick spoons and forks all over their bodies. Del Bigtree, a prominent anti-vaccine activist who supported Kennedy's presidential run and who recently co-founded a nonprofit with him called MAHA Action, also questioned the health secretary's endorsement. Bigtree suggested that Kennedy's post had got cut off. He then went on to make unproven claims about vaccines and autism and linked to a documentary he had made on the topic. Quote, we voted for challenging the medical establishment, not parroting it. No, so I already read that. Bowden says the complaint is related to, Dr. Mary Talley Bowden, a Texas-based physician who has opposed COVID vaccines and is currently fighting a complaint from Texas's medical board over hospital admitting privileges. Bowden says the complaint is related to her prescribing patients ivermectin. Ivermectin is an unproven alternative therapy for COVID. So you see where this is going right now. This is the National Public Radio. Keyword is public, which means it's funded by the government. So that's all I need to say about this. And I'm not going to read anymore because I'm hoping you following what I'm putting down. Okay, so now I'm going to play something for you because this man was a advocate for a long time, done linked up with this particular community, but all of a sudden he's singing a new tune. So I want y'all to listen to this video. I don't know if y'all going to be able to hear it or not. I don't know. So you're going to have to get this link that's going to be in the description to watch this. I didn't want to play it because I don't want no issues with copyright infringement. So that's why I didn't play the sound, but you can read the words of this on the screen. I don't know if I could make it bigger. Probably not. Oh yeah, I can. But anyway. So basically, this is saying that this man has been bought out by them folk, the name stealers. And so, because of this, it is the reason for the pivot in his position. So, the last thing I'm going to show you is this book. Now, I bought this book during COVID. I bought it in 2022, after I saw him on TV and just started doing my own research. And just because the Holy Spirit quickened in me, this is something not right about this. They're forcing this on us, and they're particularly calling out our people. They never give us nothing. They don't want to give us no reparations for harming us, but they want us to take a shot, get out of here, get the hell out. And so I just started paying attention, and I'm of the mindset, like, they say go left, go right. Just because my experiences, just with family members, even having issues with certain things. So I just have that mindset all the time. And I found this book, so I bought it from Amazon, and I read it, and I was like, cool. Well, the foreword in the book was from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And so this is why I followed him and I supported him. But I pulled up this copy of this PDF of this book because I want to read for you what he says. These are his own words. And the reason that I'm doing this, because I want y'all to understand just how bad things are, and how we are, really not able to trust anything that we see, anybody that we see. It don't matter if it's a pale male, or if it's a blassel, a black vassal, a raccoon, whatever you want to call them. We are just living in a time where you have to watch people, even if their actions and words align, you don't know who is putting them out there. And I'm starting to think that this man must have been controlled opposition to gather information about how many people actually are anti-vaccine. Who are these people? What do they do? How can we trick them, or how can we get rid of them? Or, I don't know. This is my tinfoil hat part right here. But anyway, let me read you the foreword from this book, The Truth About COVID-19, Exposing the Great Reset, Lockdowns, Vaccine Passports, and the New Normal. Why we must unite in a global movement for health and freedom. So this book was produced by Dr. Joseph Mercola, who I have talked about on this channel before, Ronnie Cummins, and then the foreword is by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So I'm getting ready to read you the foreword because it sets the tone for what the rest of the book is about. And again, this book, you can, if you don't want to buy it, you can go to the Internet Archives online. I found it there. What I couldn't find is the book by Klaus Schwab. They didn't wipe that off the internet, baby. You can't find that. So it says, government technocrats, billionaire oligarchs, big pharma, big data, and big media, the high finance robber barons, and the military industrial intelligence apparatus love pandemics for the same reason they love wars and terrorist attacks. Catastrophic crises create opportunities of convenience to increase both power and wealth, period. So it says, in her seminal book, The Shock Doctrine, The Rise of Disaster. Oh, it went away. I done missed. I'm trying to get back to where I was. Okay, let's see. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. Gotta make it a little bigger so y'all can also see it. So it says, in her seminal book, The Shock Doctrine, The rise of disaster capitalism, which is what we are experiencing right now. Naomi Klein chronicles how authoritarian demagogues, large corporations, and wealthy plutocrats use mass disruptions, which we are experiencing now, to shift wealth upwards, which is happening now, obliterate the middle classes, which is happening now, abolish civil rights, which is happening now, privatize the commons, which is happening now, and expand authoritarian controls, which is happening now. Now, keep in mind, this book was written in 2021. It came out a year after COVID-19, The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab and Thierry Mallard. So it says, a consummate insider, the former White House Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, is known for his admonition that vested power structures should never let a crisis go to waste. But this tread-worn strategy to use crisis to inflame the public terror that paves the road to dictatorial power has served as the central strategy of totalitarian systems for millennia. So basically, there's nothing new under the sun. Now, keep in mind, these are the words of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The methodology is, in fact, formulaic, as Hitler's Luftwaffe commander Hermann Göring explained during the Nazi war crimes trials in Nuremberg. Quote, it's always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy, a fascist dictatorship, or a parliament, or a communist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifist for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to greater danger. It works the same in any country. End quote. The Nazis pointed to the threats from Jews and Gypsies to justify the homicidal authoritarianism in the Third Reich. The dictatorial demagogue, Senator Joseph McCarthy, and if y'all don't know about McCarthy, that's where McCarthyism came from, and the HUAC Committee warned against communist infiltration of the State Department and film industry to rationalize loyalty oaths and the blacklist. Dick Cheney used the 9/11 attack to launch his quote, long war, end quote, against amorphous terrorism and the Patriot Act abridgments that laid the groundwork for the modern surveillance state. Now, the medical cartel and its billionaire tech accomplices, which are running shit now, have invoked the most potent, frightening, and enduring enemy of all, the microbe. And who can blame them? Increasing the wealth and the power of the oligarchy is seldom a potent vessel for populism. Citizens accustomed to voting for their governments are unlikely to support policies that make the rich richer, increase political and social control by corporations, diminish democracy, and reduce their civil rights. So demagogues must weaponize fear to justify their demands for blind obedience and to win public acquiescence for the demolition of civil and economic rights. Now I'm going to pause right there, because this is why I always talk about not having fear and having faith, because the adversary uses fear to make moves against you. When you have faith and you're strong in your faith, you understand, the Most High shows you stuff. That's why, I firmly believe that's why I can see stuff, because I'm not afraid of these people. Nothing they say or do makes me fear them. I don't fear what they do. It helps me keep watch so they won't do much to us, or at least to me. They're going to do a lot of stuff to a lot of people. But I also believe, because I pray all the time, that none of their weapons formed against Yah's chosen people prosper. We are covered. And a lot of us are praying that prayer. But, again, they always, they hate for you to be informed. And then when you are informed and you try to speak out or make decisions that are best for you, then they make you sound like you're crazy. So it's like really almost, kind of like no winning with this, because you got to deal with the public and your family members thinking that you're crazy because you're not afraid to ask questions. You're not afraid to think critically. You're not afraid to, challenge what is being presented to you. And that is what these people bank on. They bank on basically stupid people. And that's why I say stupid people will kill you. Stupid people are a danger to you. Low vibrational stupid people are the reason we are in this position that we are in. In part, they can't help it because the way that we're taught in school is to not think. There has to be something special about you to be able to question and think and rationalize some of this stuff. Or not rationalize it, to just be like, that don't make no sense. This is crazy. That defies common sense. You have to be a special person in this world today to be able to do that, and to do it regardless of what people say and think about you, because the majority of the people are stupid in this country. They ain't finna think about nothing. They just gonna do whatever they're told, and they'll walk to the guillotine. They just will. I'm just telling you like it is. But I want to share this with you because you can see the playbook. All this stuff is happening. This was written in 2021. It's 2025. This is part of the Great Reset. So, of course, it says the first casualty must always be freedom of speech, in which is happening now. I'll be, surprised if this don't get flagged or taken down. But I'm trying to read from this article as much as possible so y'all can see. These are not my words. These are their words. People in power, rich people, not me. I'm just a poor little black woman, and I ain't got nothing. I just know how to read, which is why they never want us to read, by the way. After stoking sufficient panic against the hobgoblin du jour, robber barons need to silence protest against their wealth and power grabs, and that's what's happening now. Including free speech in the First Amendment of the Constitution, James Madison argued that all our other liberties depend on this right. Any government that can hide its mischief has license to commit atrocities, which is what's happening now. That happened during COVID-19 when, they did the disinformation and misinformation. If you said this, your stuff got slapped with a label. And YouTube, they still do it. They're doing it now. This video is probably going to be slapped with some kind of thing under the bottom about something that I talked about in this video, if they don't just flag it. So it says, as soon as they get hold of the levers of authority, tyrants impose Orwellian censorship and begin gaslighting dissenters. And that's what they did to us during COVID, which is why a lot of us are separated from our families and our friends and are lonely. And that was the goal, because you didn't fear and other people did. You didn't agree with the compliance and other people did. And there was a minority of you who were speaking out. And your stuff was being taken down on social media. You were, blacklisted. I know I was blacklisted. You couldn't find my stuff hardly any place on the internet. And if you did, it was so difficult and scary to get to it. You just was like, nah, I'm good. That's what they do to you. This is why people who do what we do, you're poor, because they make it so where you cannot survive. They make it where you can't earn a living. You have to live a very modest life and be basically destitute. Just telling the truth. So it says, but ultimately, they seek to abolish all forms of creative thinking and self-expression. They burn books, destroy art, kill writers, poets, and intellectuals, outlaw gatherings, and at their worst, force oppressed minorities to wear masks that atomize any sense of community or solidarity and prevent the subtle eloquent, nonverbal communication for which God and evolution have equipped humans with 42 facial muscles. The most savage Middle Eastern theocracies mandate masks for women whose legal status, not coincidentally, is as chattels. The free flow of information and self-expression are oxygen and sunlight for representative democracy, which functions best with policies annealed in the boiling cauldron of public debate. It is axiomatic that without free speech, democracy withers. The most iconic and revered monuments of democracy therefore include the Athenian Agora and Speaker's Corner at Hyde Park. We can't help feeling exhilaration about our noble experiment in self-government when we witness the boisterous, irrelevant debates in the House of Commons or watch Jimmy Stewart's filibuster scene in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, an enduring homage to the inseparable bond between debate and democracy. To consolidate and fortify their power, dictatorships aim to replace those vital ingredients of self-rule and debate, self-expression, dissent, and skepticism with rigid authoritarian orthodoxies that function as secular surrogates for religion. These orthodoxies perform to abolish critical thinking and regiment populations in blind, unquestioning obedience to undeserving authorities. That is what we are experiencing today. Instead of citing scientific studies to justify mandates for masks, lockdown, and vaccines, our medical rulers cite WHO, CDC, FDA, NIH, captive agencies that are groveling sock puppets to the industries they regulate. Multiple federal and international investigations have documented the financial entanglements with pharmaceutical companies that have made these regulators cesspools of corruption. Latrarchy, meaning government by physicians, is a little-known term, perhaps because historical experiments with it have been catastrophic. The medical profession has not proven itself an energetic defender of democratic institutions or civil rights. Virtually every doctor in Germany took lead roles in the Third Reich's project to eliminate mental defectives, homosexuals, handicapped citizens, and Jews. Notice they left out black people. And not just black people, but, they talk about the Third Reich and Hitler, like Hitler didn't get what he was doing to the people over there from how they treated us over here. So it says many hundreds of German physicians participated in Hitler's worst atrocities, including managing mass murder and unspeakable experiments at the death camps that the Allies had to stage separate medical trials at Nuremberg. Not a single prominent German doctor or medical association raised their voice in opposition to these projects. Now, this is in comparison to what happened during COVID-19, because, you still have doctors talking about, oh, yeah, it's good. A lot of doctors have been complaining that their money is down because people are not getting the lollipops no more. So there was a financial incentive and threats to revoke licenses for speaking out against this stuff. And now you have a health care system that's in disarray because people don't want to go to it. People don't trust the resources that they are touting, say it that way. So it's unsurprising that instead of demanding blue ribbon safety science and encouraging honest, open, and responsible debate on the science, the badly compromised and newly empowered government health officials charged with managing the COVID-19 pandemic response collaborated with mainstream and social media to shut down discussion on key public health and civil rights questions. I know I was shut down. I got put off of a platform for it. They silenced and excommunicated heretics such as Dr. McCullough, who refused to genuflect to pharma and treat unquestioning faith in zero liability, shoddily tested experimental vaccines as religious duty. Our current itrarchies, which is the doctor, the physician oligarchy, rubric of scientific consensus is the contemporary iteration of the Spanish Inquisition. It is a fabricated dogma constructed by the corrupt caste of physician technocrats and their media collaborators to legitimize their claims to dangerous new powers. The high priest of modern inquisition are Big Pharma's network and cable news gas bags who preach rigid obedience to official diktats, including lockdowns, social distancing, and the moral rectitude of donning masks, despite the absence of peer-reviewed science that convincingly shows that masks prevent COVID-19 transmission. The need for this sort of proof is gratuitous. So it says they counsel us to instead trust the experts. Such advice is both anti-democratic and anti-science. Science is dynamic. Experts frequently differ on scientific questions, and their opinions can vary in accordance with and demands of politics, power, and financial self-interest, which was what I was telling y'all. Nearly every lawsuit I have ever brought pitted highly credentialed experts from opposite sides against each other, with all of them swearing under oath to diametrically antithetical positions based on the same set of facts. Science is disagreement. The notion of scientific consensus is oxymoronic. The modern intention of the totalitarian state is corporate kleptocracy, a construct that replaces democratic process with the arbitrary edicts of unelected technocrats. Invariably, their fiats invest multinational corporations with extraordinary power to monetize and control the most intimate parts of our lives, enrich billionaires, impoverish the masses, and manage dissent with relentless surveillance and obedience training. In 2020, led by Bill Gates, Silicon Valley applauded from the sidelines as powerful medical charlatans applying the most pessimistic projections from discredited modeling and easily manipulated PCR testing, and a menu of new protocols for coroners that appeared intended to inflate reporting of COVID-19 deaths, fan pandemic panic, and confine the world's population under house arrest. The suspension of due process, due notice, and comment rulemaking meant that none of the government prelates who ordained the quarantine had to first publicly calculate whether destroying the global economy, disrupting food and medical supplies, and throwing 8 billion humans into dire poverty and food insecurity will kill more people than it will save. In America, their quarantine predictability shattered the nation's once booming economic engine, putting 58 million Americans out of work and permanently bankrupting, listen to this, over 100,000 small businesses, including 41,000 Black-owned businesses, some of which took 3 generations of investment to build. So out of the 100,000, 41,000 of those small businesses that went bankrupt were Black-owned businesses. Let that soak in for a minute. These policies have also set into motion the inevitable dismantling of the social safety net that nurtured America's envied middle class. So this is what Elon Musk is doing now in Trump. The Democrats, they also did it, but they did it a different way. So it says, government officials have already begun liquidating the 100-year legacies of the New Deal, New Frontier, and the Great Society, and Obamacare to pay the accumulated quarantine debts. Say goodbye to school lunches. Ain't that's what happening now? They are cutting the USDA, so now they're cutting the funding to school lunch programs in rural communities, food for food banks, and not funding small farmers who provided fresh food to food banks and food in schools. I'm sorry. So it says, say goodbye to school lunches, health care, WIC, Medicaid, Medicare, university scholarships, and more. That is happening right now. This was written in 2021. 2021, y'all. This is crazy. But if you don't read, you're not going to know what the playbook is. So it's like not no miracle. They tell you what they're going to do. You just have to watch it happen. And when it's happening, then you know, hey, this is that time. This is what they were talking about. So the person who is running HHS now wrote this. He wrote this. This is the equivalent of the Great Reset book. So it says, while obliterating the American middle class and dropping an additional 8% of Americans below the poverty level, the 2020 COVID coup transferred $1 trillion of wealth to big technology, big data, big telecom, big finance, big media behemoths like Michael Bloomberg and Rupert Murdoch, and Silicon Valley internet titans such as Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Sergey Brin, Larry Page, and Jack Dorsey, who used to own Twitter before Elon Musk bought it and changed it to X. It seems beyond coincidence that these men who are cashing in on the poverty and misery caused by global lockdowns are the same men whose companies actively censor critics of their policies. The very internet companies that snookered us all with the promise of democratizing communications have created a world where it has become impermissible to speak ill of official pronouncements and practically a crime to criticize pharmaceutical products. The same tech/data and telecom robber barons, now gorging themselves on the corpses of our obliterated middle class, are rapidly transforming America's once proud democracy into a censorship and surveillance police state over which they profit at every turn. For example, this cabal used the lockdown to accelerate construction of their 5G network of satellites, antennae, biometric facial recognition, and track and trace infrastructure that they and their government and intelligence agency partners will use to mine and monetize our data for free, compel obedience to arbitrary dictates, and to suppress dissent. Their government industry collaboration will use this system to manage the rage when Americans finally wake up to the fact that this outlaw gang has stolen our democracy, our civil rights, our country, and way of life, while we huddled in orchestrated fear from a flu-like illness. Predictably, our other constitutional guarantees lined up behind free speech at the gibbet. The imposition censorship has masked this systematic demolition of our Constitution, including attacks on our freedoms of assembly through social distancing and lockdown rules, on freedom of worship, including abolishing religious exemptions and closing churches while liquor stores remain open as essential service, private property, the right to operate a business, due process, including the imposition of far-reaching restrictions against freedom of movement, education, and association without rulemaking, public hearings, or economic and environmental impact statements. The Seventh Amendment right to jury trials in cases of vaccine injuries caused by corporate negligence, because y'all know they've passed a law where you couldn't sue the pharmaceutical companies if you were injured medically. So that's what they're referring to. That's what he's referring to. Our rights to privacy against illegal searches and seizures, warrantless tracking and tracing. So if you had those tracking and tracing devices, well, we all have one. If you got a cell phone, it's a tracking and tracing device. Shit, just call it what it is. And our right to have governments that don't spy on us or retain our information for mischievous purposes. Silencing Dr. McCullough's voice, of course, was the medical cabal's early priority. For decades, Dr. McCullough has been among the most effective and influential advocates against the pharmaceutical paradigm. He was an eloquent, charismatic, and knowledgeable critic of a corrupt system that has made Americans the world's top consumer of pharmaceutical drugs. Americans pay the highest prices for drugs and have the worst health outcomes among the top 75 nations. And it's like 193 or something like that. So out of the top 75, we at the bottom for the worst health outcomes. Putting opiates, which kill 50,000 Americans annually, aside, pharmaceuticals are now the third biggest killer of Americans after heart attacks and cancer. Like a prophet in the wilderness, Dr. McCullough has argued for years that good health does not come in a syringe or a pill, but from building strong immune systems. He preaches that nutrition and exercise are the most effective medicines and that public health officials ought to be pushing policies that discourage reliance on pharmaceutical products and that safeguard our food supplies from big food, big chemical, and big ag, which is agriculture. These predatory industries naturally consider Dr. Mercola to be public enemy number one. Big Pharma's $9.6 billion annual advertising budget gives these unscrupulous companies control over our news and television outlets. Strong economic drivers, pharmaceutical companies are the biggest network advertisers, have long discouraged mainstream media outlets from criticizing vaccine manufacturers. In 2014, a news show host allowed me to talk about vaccine safety on air. Quote, our news division, end quote, he explained, gets up to 70% of ad revenues from pharma in non-election years, end quote. Thus, pharmaceutical products were both the predicate and the punchline of the cancel culture. The farm media long ago banned Dr. McCullough from the airwaves and newsprint while turning Wikipedia, which functions as Big Pharma's newsletter and propaganda vehicle, into a mill of defamations against him and every other integrative and functional health physician. At COVID's outset, the social media robber barons, all with their own financial entanglements with Big Pharma, joined the campaign to silence Mercola by ejecting him from their platforms. It's a bad omen for democracy when citizens can no longer conduct civil, informed debates about critical policies that impact the vitality of our economy, public health, personal freedoms, and constitutional rights. Censorship is violence, and this systematic muzzling of debate, which proponents justify as a measure to curtail dangerous polarization, is actually fueling the polarization and extremism that the autocrats use to clamp down with ever more draconian controls. We might recall at this strange time in our history my father's friend Edward R. Murrow's warning that, quote, the right to dissent is surely fundamental to the existence of a democratic society. That's the right that went first in every nation that stumbled down the trail to totalitarianism, end quote. And this is the foreword for this book by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So he said all of these things, and now he's promoting vaccine. So this is why people are pissed. So I'm gonna put a link to this in the description, this book and this article. But the reason that I'm talking about this, because I just want y'all to understand what's happening. This stuff that they wrote about years ago is happening now, and they hope people forget. They hope people don't read. They need y'all to be fearful. They need you to be ignorant. And while we are watching prophecy unfold, keep in mind, we don't know when the Most High is going to deliver us. We don't know what is going to happen, but we must be aware. We must stay awake. We must keep watch. We must know all of the adversary's devices so that we can not be caught off guard and unaware. That's scripture. So, for y'all who think we're going to be raptured off and you're going to go some fantastical place and miss something, that might not happen. We might be persecuted. We might be deleted. We might lose our life for being watchmen and trying to speak out. It is what it is. If you about that life with the Most High, he told you, you might have to give up your life to save it. I would love to rule in the millennial kingdom. We in captivity right now, so you ain't really got much to lose. You see, the future is gloomy. And because we live with a bunch of slow idiots, and I hate to say it, and I'm even talking about my own people, individualistic, fragile, scary, timid, cowardly people who cannot think, who refuse to think, who love pleasure more than wisdom, who will not get knowledge, even though we have more knowledge now than we've ever had in the history of mankind, refuse to get it, we're going to be doomed. But they're going to be doomed. We might be doomed in another way, but they're going to be doomed for sure, because when they figure out ain't no help coming and the little bit of help that you got is being taken away from you and you haven't prepared, you're going to be in trouble. So we have to know all these things because we have to prepare. We have to brace ourselves for what's coming. And also we are praying that no weapon that they form against us will prosper. And I pray that all the time. Every time I go outside and I look up in the sky and I see them damn planes spraying shit, I'm like, Lord, let no weapon they form against us prosper. Let your vegetables keep growing. Let your earth cleanse whatever they try to dirty up. Whatever they try to do, undo it. That type of thing. But and I said Lord, but y'all know what I mean. It's bad. And we can't really look for no man-made savior, because if they're rich, they're likely there for their own good. If they're powerful, they're there for their own good. So that's why I did the story about Jasmine Crockett, and that's why I'm doing this story about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Ain't no good guys. It just ain't no good guys. Ain't no good guys. Ain't no good guys. If you think in this political system is going, your vote is going to matter and you're stupid. I'm just telling you, stupid. You're stupid. If you think that the stuff that you see on the internet, because you're seeing it, it's what you're supposed to be seeing. It's a setup. They are watching us all the time, and I'll give you an example before I end this video. I have a smart TV somebody purchased for me when I moved here, And I don't log into anything. I don't sign up to nothing. I just watch it. But it's connected to my Wi-Fi. And so most of the videos, pretty much all the videos that I watch logged in are on my phone, on my telephone. I don't connect my telephone to my TV. I don't connect my computer to my TV. All these things are supposed to be separate. But what I have noticed this year, or really not since I got this TV, but this year, within the last maybe month or two, is that what I'm watching on my phone is now showing up on my TV when I watch YouTube, even though I'm not signed into YouTube. So it shouldn't remember nothing except for what I watch on YouTube. And mostly what I watch on YouTube are gardening videos, some teachings from different ministers who teach about, end time prophecy and that type of thing, and fishing. That's it. Oh, and music. I like music, so I listen to jazz. I listen to all types of music. So I'll listen to DJs or jazz or, compilations of different types of genres of music. When I'm cleaning or if I'm outside doing stuff in the yard, I might turn the TV on and play it and listen to it. But now what I'm watching on my phone is starting to show up in my feed on YouTube on my TV, although I'm not even logged in. So this technology is syncing up and it is watching us, and they keep on rolling out this AI. So AI is gathering information about us. It's not there to help us. It's gathering information so that it can connect everything. So whenever they get ready to flip the switch, they have everything they need to know about everybody. And which is why I keep telling y'all, when the shit hit the fan and everything gets bad, you're not going to be able to use technology. You're going to have to throw away anything that is digital out of your house. I don't care what it is. If it is digital and can connect to the Internet of Things, it got to go. So you're going to have old stuff. You ain't going to be able to use a computer. You're not going to be able to use your phone. You're not going to be able to have a smart TV. You're going to need a dumb TV, like them old floor models or them old big old box TVs that you can't hardly find no more. That's what you're going to need. You're not going to want to have a digital thermostat. You got a smart meter. I don't know what we're going to do about that. You might not even be able to use your utilities because they're going to track you that way. All these smart things you got, you're not going to be able to use it. You're not going to be able to use your Bluetooth speakers and your Ring doorbell device or whatever thing you have that's smart. You're going to have to get rid of it if it can connect to the internet, because it's going to be telling on you. Just telling you, what it is. But I said all that to say, this is a very dangerous time for all of us. Even seeing what's happening and talking about it is dangerous for us. We don't got no dog in the fight because we don't have any power. We ain't got no money. We don't have power. We're not together. So it's just a small group of us, a patch of us here, a patch of us there, kind of talking about all this different stuff. But at the end of the day, it's important to the collective because we're here in the belly of the beast and we're going to be impacted. We are collateral damage. So if you can, read The Truth About COVID-19, Exposing the Great Reset, Lockdowns, Vaccine Passports, and the New Normal by Dr. Joseph Mercola, Ronnie Cummins, and the foreword by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Because it's happening right now. If you read this book, like I said, it was written in 2021. It's 2025, and we're in the midst of everything they're talking about in this book. It's crazy. It's crazy. Also, if you read COVID-19, The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab and Thierry Malleret, this book will tell you step by step. It looks like almost in chronological order what they're doing to tear down the system so that they can implement the one that they're getting ready to go to. So, y'all really got to read. And I can't stress that enough. Read. Get these books and read it. This stuff. Because you need to know what's happening. Because you don't know when you're going to be rescued or delivered. So sitting around thinking, oh, I got my bag. You know, I hear people say, I got my bags packed and ready to go. That might not happen for 8 years. You sitting around for 8 years and you don't know none of this stuff. You're not paying attention to any of the stuff that's happening until tragedy comes and knocks on your door. That's the only time you are aware, and then you're trying to figure stuff out. But these are things that we need to keep watch of and know about now, because it helps us navigate what's coming. Knowledge is power. Wisdom and understanding will save your life. It's more important than any prep that you got. And the Ruach will tell you where to go and what to do. Every time. If you invest that time with him, with the Most High, with the Creator, he'll tell you where to go. He'll tell you what to do. He'll show you a whole lot of stuff. So just make sure you are getting what you are needing for what's to come, because it's about to get real bad. It's bad now. It's only going to get worse. And so just understand what's happening is planned. There's nothing that we can do about it because we don't have any power, but we can pray to the Most High that whatever plans they have fail. And that's what we can do. If we do that corporately and correctly, they won't succeed. So, pray for the better angels, or the, good people who are, everywhere, to thwart their plans. Because that's the only thing that's going to stop these people. They're not going to stop until they get complete control, or at least think they have complete control over every aspect of our lives. And that is not what the Most High intended. So, pray no weapon forms against us prosper, y'all. All right, this video has been long enough, so I'm going to end it. Leave me your feedback in the comment section if you stayed to the end. I know this is a long video, but it's a lot of stuff that needs to be shared, and I know a lot of people, don't always think about these types of things, but we need to know everything that we see is an illusion right now. And we always have to be thinking critically. We have to look at the contradictions. We have to, see whether people's actions and words align. We have to follow the money, and it's exhausting. So I know everybody can't do everything. So this is my contribution. All right, like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification so that you'll be notified each and every time I upload new content. Follow me on Odyssey, Rumble, on Instagram, and on Facebook. The links are in the description. I don't think Facebook. I'm going to say Odyssey and Instagram and on Rumble. Forgive me. If you'd like to support the channel, links are in the description for my Coffee and my Venmo. This channel is not monetized, and I don't have any supporters or sponsors. So whatever you give to me goes directly to me, and it will help me because I'm being persecuted all the time. I'm tired. Oh, I'm so tired. Lastly, continue to prep, continue to pray, continue to seek and get wisdom and knowledge and understanding so that you will know how to navigate these times. Repent daily for sins of commission and sins of omission. Keep the Sabbath, because those are the things that are going to help us make it through these times. And this is how we show the Most High we are dedicated to Him, and we have faith and not fear. Don't have no fear about nothing that's coming, because they seize our fear. Everything they do is the opposite of what the Most High wants us to do, what the Creator wants us to do. So if you think of it from that perspective, it should, direct you to go in the direction of your faith, because you can see, oh, the adversary wants us this way, because when we do, we don't have a connection to the Most High. They want us to do things this way because we're messing up our DNA, and we have a connection that they can't destroy. But when we do things their way, it destroys our connection, or it distracts us. So just make sure you are doing whatever you can do to make certain that you are on the same frequency as the Most High, so that when it's time for him to come and crack the sky and rain down on these serpent seeds, you will not only not be afraid, you'll be glad for the deliverance. And that's it. All right, y'all. This is Marley K. Love y'all, and I'm out.